That famous over-exaggeration when you used to say, I am so bored I could die. Today on Boredom Must Die, I was so bored I researched what it would take to colonize other planets. Be it pandemic, nuclear war, maybe dinosaurs from the middle of the earth returning to the land above. There are many different scenarios, but where would humanity call home if we couldn't call Earth home? While the world has rising tensions and just about every country has a nuke, maybe even super tiny ones at this point, like Cuba and all the little small island countries. I don't know. I think every single country has a nuke at this point. People such as Elon Musk, who is the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, are asking that we begin to colonize Mars. That brings the question, we've talked about it a little bit in the past, not about colonization, but I know Stars would like said in the past he does not want to go to Mars. So I mean, what if it was the last resort? What if that was like you living out the rest of your life? You had to go to a colony on Mars. I know previously you talked about being scared as hell from watching movies like Total Recall, like the 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger version.
I would have to say that I would take every precaution possible that my eyes would not pop out of my head.
All right. I mean,
That's the
would
only thing I
you?
would think of.
But like, what about you, Boom? Would you want to be a pioneer for a new planet like Mars?
I I probably would. I think it'd actually be quite the experience.
Yeah.
Maybe modern day. I don't know. I'd be extremely iffy about it, but like if I wasn't the first ones there, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, like you'd be the
I don't
first
know, there's a
ones
lot of
there.
shit that can go wrong, and being
Yeah.
trapped out in space, I would imagine is terrifying. And
Oh.
I'm good on all that.
Well, I mean, what if you went through like a doom scenario where like all of a sudden like they found an artifact and people are turning into hellspawn?
I mean, if I'm already there, then yeah, I would. I wouldn't. I would want to be definitely one of the ones trying to fix the scenario. I mean,
Would you be?
I
You
would
would turn
have
into
to.
Doom Guy. Boom would
Well,
become Doom Guy.
I mean, I
He'd be
wouldn't say
boom
I'd be.
guy.
I wouldn't say I'd be successful. I'm just saying, like, I couldn't sit and wait for like something like that to just come and get me. Like my adrenaline, I couldn't do it. It would be torture for me. It would be worse to go out, like to sit there and wait for somebody else to deal with it than for me to like go out and deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't know.
You wouldn't want the Doom Guy to go out. You would become the Boom Guy. Bird.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if that's what we're calling it, then I
Oh my god.
suppose. But
Dude,
I just
Bethesda, we have a new hero for the Doom series, the Doom franchise. Like let's have Boom Guy as like a second playable character
He just had
instead.
like explosives, like just.
jeez.
Every gun he
But
touches has explosive rounds.
if that ever happened to me, where I was like stuck in that scenario where there was like a hell spawn and shit, I'd be the one that's out, chief. I'd be taking the first escape pod out.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I
you
mean,
know
if
what
that's an
happens?
option, yeah, I'm definitely taking
You
an
know,
escape
I'm
pod.
like, I'm
yeah, but
Nobody
out,
told
you,
me there were escape pods.
I'm out, chief.
but bro, you know what happens to the guys who get in the escape pods, though, right?
I
They
mean, I'm
get stuck
probably
in
getting
the escape
stuck in
pod?
space,
Because
but I
that's
mean,
worse.
No, dude, one of the things crawls in last second before the door shuts all the way, and you freaking get shot out into space, and the space pod's screaming.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like,
that's probably scary.
yeah, have you seen Alien Resurrection, where like they're trying to wait? First of all, have you just seen that movie? Period.
No.
Okay.
No,
I haven't seen
haven't
alien
seen.
movies in forever.
Oh my god, I have to stream it in the Discord for you fellas. I own it. I own all of them.
Yeah, I've tried to watch Covenant, and I didn't
Covenant's
really dig
meh.
that.
It's meh. So Covenant's kind
So,
of meh,
yeah.
but Alien Resurrection's one of the last ones with Sigourney Weaver, so it's more action based and it's more like campy horror sci-fi.
I
But
got you.
like a small spoiler, like it's on a military ship in space, and they're trying to escape because inevitably the fucking aliens get loose, like they do in every single fucking movie. Like they're out there, and the military personnel are jumping into the escape pod, and guess what crawls in before they get shot out into space?
Ooh, an alien.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like when Stars is like, yeah, I'll take the first escape pod out. I just imagine one of the like hellspawn crawling in with him that he doesn't realize at first, and then gets shot into space with a monster on board.
Yeah, I
Or
mean, I can see it.
4 stars, 4 stars. What a terrible way to die.
You get
Uh,
killed by a face sucker.
It'd be okay.
It'd be okay. He's like,
It'd be
there
okay.
could be worse
Fuck that.
fates. He's
I
like,
think that'd be terrifying.
Nah.
no, no. But Mars is also inhospitable though. The atmosphere doesn't protect the surface from the sun's radiation. The surface is at a sub-zero climate, which instantly freezes any of the water on the planet. So getting plants to survive in those conditions is nearly impossible. To melt the ice on the Martian surface, it's estimated they'd have to raise the temperature of the soil to 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 degrees Celsius just to melt the ice. And while we may not be able to terraform Mars, there are ideas of creating giant greenhouses with underground dwellings, almost familiar to like Fallout and the Vaults, if you've ever played Fallout. Creating a greenhouse, imagine like the images they showed. It was like a giant golf ball on top of the surface, a giant golf ball type treehouse with plants plants, trees, vegetation, forest on the top within the dome. And underneath, it's almost like a ant hive or like a maze of different tunnels and quarters for the people to live in. Ideally, this would also support the idea of creating oxygen in the ecosystem above and unfreezing the water. And they'd already have carbon dioxide on the planet. Dry ice would help provide water. They'd have oxidizers for fuel. So that would be a start to getting people living on Mars. Now, for every single individual that would be going to Mars, they estimate for each inhabitant to live on Mars, it takes 6 metric tons of supplies for each individual. So now that you guys know, or you have an idea of like how, say, Elon Musk or SpaceX had an idea or imagined living on Mars, what do you think of that? Like a giant greenhouse with little like tunnels and things underneath.
I mean, if it's sustainable, like if it's a good, like, I don't know. If we're talking, like, I'm not super interested in space travel nowadays. Like I was saying earlier, like I don't think I would sign up for anything like today. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like the only way I'm probably getting on it is if like life prolongs and we get it in the next like 50 years. You know what I mean? Because I don't see it getting super like cool nowadays. You know what I mean? And I don't even think it's like honestly being processed. Like I don't even know if it's like if anybody's researching into
They're researching
I'm sure
it.
that's being researched into it, but anyone's actually like committing to it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. But nonetheless, like if everything was sustainable and there was like huge benefits, I suppose, because like I said, the only way I'm getting into like space travel, like in modern space travel, is if like it if it for whatever reason benefits me. You know what I mean? Like if I needed a fresh start somewhere on a new planet, or like they said they paid you a shit ton of money to like, go colonize something, but obviously you're going
Oh
to
no, totally.
colonize a
So
new.
if if they did colonize it though, they totally would pay you a crap ton of money. There would be some sort of incentive there.
But what's the point though? Because when you're
well,
going over there, there's not a whole lot of need for
well,
money, right? Because you're technically starting over.
no, that's true. Like in Japan, well, I mean, as an example, in Japan, like I've read an article where it's talking about they're trying to get people to move into the countrysides again because there's entire abandoned villages and stuff. They're just houses
In
that are
Japan?
abandoned. Yeah, yeah. So they're
Really?
paying. Yeah, like they're just
Oh.
giving people houses. They're giving people money and houses. Like we need people to live out here, and like very few are actually taking up the offer because there's so many abandoned like villages near the farming areas, I guess you would say.
Hmm.
But what about you, Stars? Would you do it if they actually built a little terrarium for you, Dan?
That's a no-go for me.
What? Why is that?
I don't trust it. Ever
That's what I'm
since I
saying,
saw that,
like-
ever since I saw the movie, like I just can't trust like being on another planet unless we know for sure it's got oxygen, where we don't have to like have a little dome built or like a thing built for us to actually live.
So you
Like,
would
if
want
we-
it terraformed. You want a full
Yeah,
on terraform.
I want to full on another planet that's terraformed. That's the only way I'd move to another planet. Like I'm not gonna like risk
real-
on people's like I guess science of making sure we have oxygen. But like I mean, I don't know. That
Yeah,
movie
but
just scared the shit out of me when I was younger, and I'm not doing it.
there's also a factor too, dude. There's also a factor too where it's God, you must be scarred by Total Recall. Like you're like all these questions, you're like never, no, no way.
Nope. Nope.
But
I'm serious. Nope.
but at the same time, there's also other factors too, which didn't, that aren't taken into account for, because you also have to consider the actual gravity of the Earth. Because if you go to a planet where the gravity is heavier, it's like trying to live in the ocean here, because the pressure's so different. Like the further you go down, the more the higher the pressure gets. So then, like at the same time of having a terraformed planet, it would also have to have conditions where the planet's pressure was acceptable for you to survive on. Yeah, I mean, you think about that, like if there was let's say Mars was terraformed, like I don't know what the pressure would be like though. So it could be like living in super high altitudes, or it could be like living underneath ocean type pressure. I think it just depends on the atmosphere, the size of the planet, and the rotation, all that good stuff. All the math, big math stuff. But I will say though, you're definitely Boom was spot on, by the way. Others feel that it's more viable and convenient to actually set up in the ocean, like living quarters, because they would be able to. They're easy. It's more easy to establish underwater living than it is to establish sustainable habitats on Mars. And the problem isn't the technology. We do have the technology currently, but the problem is there's no reason to travel to Mars. It's not from lack of courage. There are individuals out there who do want to go to Mars desperately.
Yeah, we're just not doing it.
Yeah, it boils down to money. There's no reason to go to Mars. People don't see a reason to go to Mars. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if they send an expedition out there to see if there's anything on Mars that would be useful for Earth, maybe then where companies could invest and make money.
I guess it would cost more money for us to send like colonies out there and sustain those colonies, because they couldn't really sustain themselves too well unless I guess it was an underground colonization on Mars.
Well, you
But
heard
that would cost even more money,
yeah,
right?
dude.
So,
Like it would take 6 metric tons of supplies per
Yeah,
individual, and it takes what I think
that's
like 3
fucking
months,
insane.
3 or 6 months to travel out to Mars. So first of all, you'd have to get the ships off the surface of the Earth. Like you'd have a ton of like rocket fuel, and then just getting the freaking ship into space. On top of like 6 metric tons of supplies for each individual.
Yeah, plus it's way colder on Mars, is it not, than on Earth?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's sub freezing. It's sub freezing temperatures. So
Yeah,
to actually like you
you're
not
definitely
only
not going outside.
well could you imagine how many spaceships it would take just to set up supplies for the people, the construction workers to. Well, first of all, you'd
Yeah,
have
and
to
you're talking
train.
fuel and
You have to
like all
train
that shit.
construction workers to actually go into space. Like you'd have to find some crazy bastards that work in construction. Like, yeah, I'll build you a habitat on the Mars.
I'm sure they would, bro. There wouldn't be too many
Yeah.
people that say no, I'm sure.
Well, I would be scared if I would be like, no, I'll contract my guys to you. Like, hey, Fred, you go to Mars? Like, I don't want to go to Mars. Not to build like that. I mean, there'd be so many deaths. There's no way. I mean, we can't just do it flawlessly. Something would go wrong somewhere trying to build that. The other part of it too is there's no other nations trying to get to Mars. The whole reason we went to the moon, not unless you believe it was a video, it was a fake moon landing. I'm not going to go into that. Let's assume that the moon landing was real. We were competing with other nations in the world. We were competing mainly with Russia. I mean, there's no other global powers in the world right now like putting pressure on getting to Mars. There's no private businesses that think it's profitable. It's a huge gamble too to spend a ton of money to get to Mars and find out there's nothing there for you to take off the planet. And I mean, it is possible though. Like I said, we have the science and the technology and the resources, but the problem is the money. And it would also take a long time to actually just make it sustainable for humans, period.
I know. I don't know if this like is in like stats or like facts or anything, but like I know like over the years, Earth is being very more and more populated. Like every year that goes on. I mean, the only way I could see that anyone would have a reason to go to either to the moon to colonize the moon if it's possible, or to Mars to colonize, would be if we do overpopulate the Earth.
Oh yeah, no, it's already overpopulated. We're already like,
I'm just saying, like, if it gets more, like, where it's like
oh, yeah.
unsustainable.
Oh no,
period.
we're already super over the cap here, scientifically speaking.
Yeah.
7
That's
billion,
the only way I would see the
right?
reason people would
Well,
actually start saying, okay, maybe we should start thinking about this.
I think living underwater is more viable. Like that'd be cool to have some like underwater cities, like Aquaman style.
I'm down to be Aquaman.
Oh, I'm sure you are. You'd be make a wonderful, beautiful Aquaman.
Hell yeah.
But the bottom line is, until they find a reason to go to Mars, they're not going to do it. I mean, other than at like exploration's sake. I mean, and then if they actually did find something out there of value, say they found like tons of titanium or any materials, y'all, you bet you companies would be starting to figure out how to get there, just to get at that material for exchange and money and trade. But do you think humanity will ever colonize Mars or any other planet for that matter?
I think it's
I
possible in the future, but I don't think it's in the near future.
No. Well, I
I
mean,
oh, my bad.
oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if we found a different, like, if we found an alternate fuel source, I feel like a lot of shit like that we don't think is possible, it would be possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Right.
truly do feel like if we just stopped using like fossil fuels, we'd be able to do a whole lot of different shit.
Right.
But it's just the fact that like we kind of hurt ourselves like by doing that shit, and it's I don't know. It's like chasing your tail, in my opinion. But I guess that's all I'll say on that particular
No,
topic.
absolutely. I mean, it's true too. I think it would take some odd years to find advancements in shuttles and spacecraft just to get off the Earth and take those heavy. So those supplies are heavy. 6 metric tons. I don't even know the cost of fuel it would take to get that off the ground if that were in a rocket. But that's per person.
Right.
That, that,
You'd
that
probably have to send like rockets specifically for supplies, like not even manned rockets.
Yeah, just nonstop too. It'd be a nonstop because, like, you think about like construction workers, it's more than one guy. You have to send
Right.
entire
Yeah.
teams up there, so that would be pretty crazy. And then just setting up living conditions like that. But
Yeah.
maybe one day, but not anytime soon. All right. And do you have anything else you can think of, or
Nah.
about you, stars?
No, I'm good. Other than I'm not being Arnold.
Get to the chopper. All right, that was our episode of Boredom Must Die. If you guys enjoyed that, if you have any comments, any ideas, anything you'd like to add to the discussion, you can hit us up on Twitter and you can add to it. We'll be looking forward to our next episode. I hope you enjoyed that and have a wonderful rest of your night.